stripping away all that abstract theory and handing you a highly actionable blueprint. We're focusing exclusively on Chapter 5 of the Leverage Code, which maps out a precise 6-day framework for building your very first real working system. If you've been reading up on concepts like leverage, scale, and automation, but you haven't actually built anything yet, this is exactly where you need to be. We are taking those big ideas and turning them into reality today. So let's kick this off with a direct challenge for you. Think about your current work week. What's the single task you find yourself doing more than 3 times a week? Because here's the hard reality. Every manual task you repeat is simply a task you haven't automated yet. If you're doing the exact same thing over and over, whether that's copy and pasting client data across spreadsheets, manually formatting a weekly report, or answering the exact same onboarding questions, you are acting as the system rather than actually owning one. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by ending the theory, move into days 1 and 2 for documenting, tackle days 3 to 5 for automating, hit days 6 and 7 for measuring, and finally wrap up with the ultimate system standard. All right, Section 1, Theory, ends right now. We are officially moving past the big ideas of leverage to focus purely on execution.
Listen, the core philosophy we have to adopt before we start building is this: motivation is a terrible business partner. As the Leverage Code points out, motivation spikes when you watch an inspiring presentation or read a great book, but then it fades right on schedule. Your willpower will eventually fail you on a bad day, like a tired Friday afternoon when you're 3 cups of coffee deep and completely overwhelmed. You've got to design for your absolute worst day, tired, behind, and low on belief. That is exactly why a concrete, documented system that exists completely outside of your head is your only real safety net. It runs exactly the same whether you feel like doing the work or not.
So here is the exact chronological framework we'll use to build your system over the next week. It's a 6-day sprint divided into distinct daily focuses. You choose, you document, you find friction, you simplify, you automate, and then, crucially, you measure. This is a strict sequence. You absolutely cannot skip a step or the whole thing wobbles and just collapses under pressure.
Let's move into Section 2, Days 1 and 2, which are all about documenting. This is the setup phase, where the actual foundation of your leverage is laid.
Looking right at the MetaFin.x manual's rules for kicking this process off on day 1, the mandate is incredibly clear. It specifically notes that abstract ideas end right here. You literally cannot boil the ocean. You have to pick one single thing to fix. For day 1, you've got to isolate a task that meets these highly specific criteria. First, it has to be something you do more than 3 times a week, and it has to follow a similar pattern every single time. Think about tasks like client onboarding emails, content posting, routine research, or sending out those weekly invoices. You want to target the task that costs you the most time, because, well, that's where you'll get your biggest immediate return on investment. If you only do a task once a month, building a system for it right now is honestly just a distraction.
But here is exactly where most people get stuck. A total lack of detail. Specificity is what makes a system actually buildable. You cannot just say your task is content. That's way too vague, and it invites massive scope creep. You need a clearly defined input and a defined output. For example, your task is turning a voice note idea into a published and scheduled post across platforms. See the difference? That gives you strict boundaries. You know exactly where the task starts, and you know exactly where it ends. Then we hit day 2. You execute that specific task normally, but you do it while documenting it in full. And I mean granular detail here. You write down every single click, every piece of software you open, and every micro decision you make in real time. The standard you're aiming for is that a complete stranger, maybe even an alien, who has never seen your business or used your computer, could pick up this document and follow the process perfectly without asking you a single question. If it only exists in your head, it has zero leverage, and it literally dies the second your attention shifts elsewhere. Moving into Section 3, Days 3 to 5. With your manual documentation totally locked in, we enter the optimization and automation phase to start buying back your time. Now it's day 3, and you are officially hunting for friction. You grab that incredibly detailed document you made yesterday, and you mark exactly which parts of the process fit these 3 warning signs. Which steps take the absolute most time? Which steps require you to make tedious decisions, like figuring out which custom tag to apply to a new sales lead? And importantly, which steps do you actively dislike doing? Let's be real. The things you hate doing are usually the things you procrastinate on, which makes them your primary targets for automation. Hold your horses, though, because day 4 is the crucial filter before you touch any technology whatsoever.
You absolutely must simplify. Look at those bottlenecks you just highlighted and ask yourself, can this step be removed entirely? Can it be combined with another step? As the source strongly warns, if you automate a broken, inefficient process, you don't magically fix it. Nope. You just generate the exact same mess, only much, much faster.
Which brings us to the magic number for day 5, 1. The crucial point here is to automate only one thing. Just one. Look at your simplified list of bottlenecks and pick the single biggest one. The graveyard of productivity is absolutely overflowing with half-built workflows. If you try to automate 5 things at once, you're going to end up with 5 broken tools that actually require more of your time to manage than the manual task ever did. One fully working automation beats 5 half-built ones every single time. Get that one bottleneck automated using a no-code tool or an AI integration, and suddenly the entire system can breathe.
That brings us to section 4, days 6 and 7. This is the reality check for your brand new system. The final mandate from the source text here is super clear. You must run the system in the real world. You are stepping back, taking your hands entirely off the keyboard, and letting the loop actually operate. So this is your reality check. You've got to actually use the new automated version of the task. You track the one clear metric that tells you if it's healthy. And here is absolutely the most important part of this entire week. You must accept that things are going to break. When they do not panic. And whatever you do not immediately tear the whole thing down. One of the biggest system killers is that instinct to judge it way too early, like rebuilding from scratch after just 3 runs, instead of giving it time to collect real-world data. Just note exactly what breaks, log it on your improvement list, and iterate calmly. Finally, let's wrap this up with Section 5, the ultimate system standard, addressing the perfectionism that honestly keeps most entrepreneurs trapped in manual labor forever.
If you're sitting around waiting for a flawless, 100% perfect launch before you deploy your system, well, you're actively losing. You are losing to someone else out there who deployed a messy but functional, 70% working automated alternative today. Perfection is an illusion that keeps you doing data entry at midnight. A perfect plan living comfortably in your head has a leverage ratio of exactly 0.
So here is the exact standard you must adopt moving forward. I'll say it again. A system running at 70% beats a perfect plan still living in your head every single time. Execution in the real world is the only metric of success. It really doesn't matter how brilliant the architecture looks on a whiteboard. If it's running at 70% out there in reality, it is saving you time right now, today.
This 6-day blueprint from Chapter 5 of the Leverage Code is quite literally waiting for you to use it. It requires absolutely no massive capital investment, just your focus and a genuine willingness to document exactly what you do. So the only real question left for you as we wrap up this explainer is this. Take a look at your schedule. Which manual task are you going to fix tomorrow? Go find it and start building.